All right, welcome back to the Crazy Courage podcast. We are here with another business owner, another man who is doing it on his own, living by the seat of his pants, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And that's kind of the fun of owning a business, right? So I have here Robert Esposito. He is from Relocators Incorporated. Robert, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate being here. Thanks for having me.
So tell me about Relocators. What is it that you guys do?
Relocators, by easy definition, is a moving company, but we're actually much more than that. We kind of handle like the full service house transitions. So we do moving, cleanouts, estate sales, online auctions, storage, and we try to be like an end-to-end solution for the like transferring out of a home.
Nice. And now you guys have a few offices, right? A few locations?
One headquarters, a few locations, yes.
Where are you located?
We have 4 in Long Island, New York, and we service the tri-state area. And then we have one in Punta Gorda, Florida.
Okay. And now, as we're recording this interview, this is right prime time when Milton is barreling down on Florida, really kind of hitting it now as we speak. Robert and I were talking a bit off air beforehand, talking about how we really hoping that it's not as bad as expected down there. We're hoping for the best, hope no one gets hurt, and it's not too bad, but we expect that his Florida office will be fairly busy when it comes time to help out with that cleanup. So when Milton hits, it's going to cause some damage. There's going to be some flooding, water damage for sure. How will you guys be involved in that?
So I've kind of built my career after these storms due to Hurricane Sandy, which hit New York as a catastrophe back into becoming a vendor for restoration companies that need packout services. And now it's like one of the biggest services we do. And so I'm kind of like an expert when it comes to dealing with these type of situations. So I'll be on the phone. My mother has a house in Florida, as well as like 40 of her friends from Queens, New York, she grew up with. So the last 2 weeks, because of Helene, I've been literally on the phone all day, every day, advising people. A lot of people I know that are accounts of mine went down there and just linking them up with my managers and trying to come up with solutions for these people that are dealing with. I mean, it is complete carnage down there. It was a war before this.
Right. So we were saying that Milton is barreling down on Florida, but like you said, they're recovering from the last one, which was just a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty devastating.
Absolutely devastating. And we were getting ready to send trucks down for donation when the reports about Milton came in. So everything's kind of halted right now because it's about to happen again.
Right. Wow, what a scary time. I hope your mother's okay, and obviously all her friends.
Yes. In Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been kind of a bit of a crazy hurricane season this year, especially it seems like late in the season.
It does.
But we're like at the tail end of of hurricane season, and these ones are coming on pretty hard. You said you got your start when Hurricane Sandy hit back, this is about 12 years ago now, right?
Yes. The start of the side of my business that does like restoration packouts and works with like insurance and restoration companies. That start I got dealing with Hurricane Sandy after that. And when Sandy hit, we didn't have moving, but we started doing cleanouts, and we had that aspect of my business. And then years later, it transitioned into storage and the packouts. And I have over 50 like vendor accounts for restoration packouts. So it's a big part of our business. On the same token, like during COVID, we had just started like 4 years before doing out-of-state moving and online auctions, and doing the online auctions instead of estate sales in person, and the out-of-state moving with everybody leaving New York after COVID. Those two services kind of carried us. So I've always kind of been fortunate to like ride the wave somewhere with the way my model's set up. So,
but that's the way to do it, right? You set it up so that something happens like COVID, you're not stuck, right? You can pivot to some of your services that don't get shut down during those times.
And like right now, I don't know, in America, at least on the East Coast, the real estate market is horrendous. It's worse than they're talking about.
So when you're saying horrendous, now is that because not a lot of people are moving? It's very expensive.
It's the election year. It's interest rates. It's definitely interest rates, probably first and foremost. But I mean, there's nothing on the market. The inventory is so low, and I've talked to movers across the country that are seeing it like they never saw it before. I started September '08. It's kind of when you have nothing to
Yeah.
lose, but at the same time, it was like that then.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen the interest rates have come down a bit, but clearly not enough to make a difference yet.
Yes. So what's weird to me though is in '08 we knew, like everybody knew the world was ending. Now it's like, it's almost like they don't want you to know, or like somebody's hiding, because it feels worse. But you don't know, you don't see here. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It seems like right now, so much money is being pumped into the system to keep things going, but the individuals are suffering, right? Like people are having a hard time buying food, paying rent, the basic necessities. Whereas back in '08, everyone knew, everyone was in the same boat. Like the sky was falling, the banks were folding, banks were being bailed out. But now it doesn't seem that extreme, but I think it's hitting the little guy hard, like the you and me. As individuals, we're being hit kind of hard with this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know,
Oh, I see.
yeah, I mean, everything costs more right now. The inflation's been crazy for so long.
Tremendously. I mean, anything you do, you buy a pizza and it's a lot of money. So you factor in, services that require labor and skilled work or unskilled work. And everything's just so astronomically more money. And it's like, you don't hear about like the housing market crashing. And I guess it's not crashing, but I mean, it is so stagnant compared to what I've seen over the last 17 years.
Right. One thing that kind of popped into my head, you said you started just after Hurricane Sandy, around that time. Have you noticed an increase in your work based on the number of storms that are happening or the severity?
Yes, I feel that way. I actually started in '08. I started in the restoration packout side,
Okay.
being an asset to them and after Sandy. But it does seem, at least in Florida, if not other places, the storms just seem more constant and more bigger each one.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, like I have a background in insurance, so I can appreciate Florida specifically. Yeah, Florida is kind of a unique state that I find gets beat down a lot by a lot of the storms that are coming through. And as a result, a lot of people are finding it very difficult to get insurance. A lot of the insurance companies have decided that the flood zone is something like 10 to 15 kilometers inland from the ocean, which is huge. Like that's a huge amount of the population that's not able to get, say, flood coverage, for instance, because the carriers are just saying, no, we're not doing it. And to be fair, it sounds like there is some risk. I don't know how severe it is, but people are pulling out of it. And, I've talked to a lot of people in Florida, and getting insurance there is expensive for very little coverage. You just can't get everything. So I think it's hitting a lot of industries pretty hard.
And then when it does happen, unlike places with like 100-year-old buildings where there's large losses, but they also have very good coverages. They have premier coverages like the Chubbs and the Pures and the AIGs. There, they can't even get service. Right? You know what I mean? Like it's a different animal. And I did Sanibel. I did like a town hall. I remember like getting off the phone and my heart went out to the people. And having experienced it around Long Island, like Breezy Point, back 10, 11 years before, it was such a stark difference,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Even you're talking about Long Island and New York area, like for a storm to hit there is so rare.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
In comparison. And I mean, for that severity, we're talking like a storm in terms of like hurricane winds, even a tropical storm, tropical depression, anything like that. Sure, it rains, but Florida really just gets hammered. And I think this year is going to be kind of a record year for it getting beat up, and it's really too bad. Unfortunately, that because there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to evacuate people and hope that everyone gets out okay, and the damage isn't too severe when they come back. But
yeah, it's like you kind of think like all right, they were right about global warming. You know, like,
Yeah. Right. Maybe we're not
yeah.
wrong. Yeah. Right.
When I was
Exactly.
watching this thing the other day on the History Channel, and it was like Secrets of the Ice, and it like opened with the guy was just so excited. We're learning so much stuff as the ice melts, and like he's sitting next to like a mammoth. They're just totally okay with this right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna make a show about this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great content for them. How the
Yeah.
world is melting, but I just wanted to get a clarification on when you were talking about packouts. Now I feel like that's a bit of an industry term for you. When you do the restoration packouts, can you explain what that means?
Sure. So just to back up one step, my mother started an estate sale company because she cleared out her mother's house in Queens when she got breast cancer and moved her out to Long Island. And she was like kind of one of the first estate sale companies on Long Island. And it was this big like shift where like the new generation didn't want stuff that the Depression era were giving away, who saved everything.
Right.
And that's how I got my start. When Sandy came, my whole philosophy prior was like putting together an end-to-end solution for people that deal with, if you Google life's biggest stressors, it comes out like death, divorce, moving. It doesn't make sense. It's up there. So this having water damage or fire damage or puffbacks, this was just another arm of that, like servicing people that are going through their actual home without planning a move, and it's sudden, need to get everything out for the mitigation and the reconstruction. So with that, you need the packing out all the good contents and then putting them back exactly how they were. And is moving, but it's a little more intricate. It's a little more involved.
Sure. And it's like you said, it's unplanned too, right? That I think that's a big part of it. So insurance companies come in and with their restoration companies, and they're trying to make this as smooth as possible. But this is, one of the most stressful things in their lives when their home is damaged, a lot of their contents, and they're displaced, right? You're coming into that. You got to be good at what you do because, you're trying to help people.
Exactly. And it's dealing with them at their absolute worst because of
right.
They're going through and understanding. You have a 3-day 0-degree deep freeze in New York, and all these people are on vacation and they come home to flooded pipes. And
burst pipe, right? Yeah.
So like imagine that coming home from Disney with your kid.
That's the worst. Yeah, you're coming home from Disney. You just want to get home. I just want to relax, unpack, unwind, sit on the couch, turn on TV, and just relax, get rid of the jet lag. And now you're into DEFCON 3, or you're in panic mode, which isn't fun. You're on the phone calling the insurance company, calling you guys, calling the restoration guys. Wow, yeah, not a lot of fun for sure.
One time a guy came home from work. They must have gotten rid of their oil tank years before, but they left the pipe there. And the pipe had a cap on the outside, but the pipe was now cut because they took out the tank. The guy brought the oil to the wrong house, and his basement was filled with oil.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Are you kidding me?
Now, like I said, I have an insurance background, and oil tanks used to be the worst thing for various reasons. Like that's probably one of the worst things because that's just straight oil into a house. And oil tank leaks and that stuff leaching into the water table was just, insurance companies hate that. So to come home and have like a couple feet of oil in your basement, that would be just terrible. I don't even know how you get that out. It'd be, you said you do online auctions, like estate sales, that sort of thing. Do you do the auctions yourself? You run the auctions?
Yeah. So the estate sales is, how we originated, and with it, that industry kind of transferred to online auctions. So what we'll do is come into a house, and if it's an estate sale, set it up like a department store and host a weekend sale. If it's an auction, we just lot and categorize everything, and then we put it on like a third-party site that's like a national site for online auctions, and allow for like 7 to 14 days of bidding. And it's much more controlled. Like there's only a 4-hour window where people that have already paid for their stuff come and pick up their stuff.
Okay.
It's not a situation where it's like a, blowout sale and thousands of people through your home.
Yeah.
So,
no. Yeah, but you guys run all that stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
That's probably a great part of your model. Like you said, it's end to end, right? So you're able to provide that extra service on top of just moving the goods around. You're actually
Absolutely.
helping people liquidate them.
Definitely.
So, Robert, tell me, how did you get started? Like, how far back do I have to go to understand your entrepreneurial journey? Is this your first business? Did you do stuff beforehand? What did it look like?
Yeah, I would say it's my first business. Absolutely. I worked hard from 14 on. In my early 20s, when I was waitering and bartending and going to college, I kind of decided I wanted to get into business. And I thought at the time I would do more like save up $100,000 and buy a route, like a potato chip route or something.
Okay.
Do that. But then I was doing these cleanouts for my mother. And when the homeowner was alive, the assisted living director, because they'd be moving there, hated the moving company. So they'd always like kind of twist my arm to rent a U-Haul and just do it because I was a mutual client. I'd be working for my mom or cleaning the house.
Right.
And doing that, I saw that the industry seemed gapped. And it was like, this is so stressful, but now you got to call like 4 or 5 different people to get it serviced. And I literally just like bought a $4,000 box truck, borrowed money from my dad. And that's how I got started. I would just service my mother's clients that needed my services because it went with her service,
Nice.
doing jobs like that.
Yeah, it was easy for you to see that there was a need, right?
Yep.
And then so how did the business grow? So you started off with the one box truck, a bit of money in the bank, and then was that it? Like, was business good right away? Did you find clients?
no money in the bank. Like,
No money in the bank.
no, like borrowing money to pay to do a job, or getting gas multiple times a day,
Right.
in order to, because you couldn't fill up. But yeah, I got jobs right away, but it was kind of the thing where, all right, if I can make $1,000 a week, I'll make 500 on a job, and I'll work 2 nights at the restaurant and make 5. And then since 6 months in, I would say I've been completely self-sufficient and just went in gradual steps, like 8 to 12. I call it like self-employed, where it's like me on a truck with a couple guys, and then gradually got into networking, kind of learned audiobooks, learned more stuff. Then I tried to franchise for a while. Then I got into other services and more like corporate and that kind of structure and trying to figure that out, commercial real estate. And now I feel like there's levels where you're comfortable for a while and then all of a sudden it's crazy again. And you're just like in it and it's the worst for a year or two. And then you figure that out and then you're calm again and then that happens again. So now I think I'm like just coming out of having managers oversee the managers working. Now the next step will be one day, do they actually grow it too? Or is
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like I think that's one coming. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So the next phase is going to be figuring out how to grow from where you are now
Without you growing.
without you growing. Yeah.
No,
All right.
figuring out how to manage it is where I'm now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, nice. Now, so it's not franchises that you have now,
No.
though, right? You tried that model. Did that not
Yeah.
work for you? You hated
Yeah.
franchising? Nope.
No.
Did it just not work? Is it the fact that you didn't have as much control? Was part did you not like?
It does work for some industries, I feel, but for my industry or hands-on industry or like where you're dealing with people on such an emotional level, I don't feel like the franchise model's right because the people you would need to buy the franchise aren't going to run the franchise for the most part. And the people that buy a franchise want to kind of like put somebody in an ice cream shop, like a 20-year-old manager. And it was a different model for me. And in order to be successful as a franchise, you have to really have a lot of units. Like you think you might have 50 units, but there's different breaking points of corporate management you need to oversee those units that like it's a tough model.
Now, what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you wanted to be able to put the right managers in place yourself to, and the stuff that you're doing hands on, and have the right managers because you needed people that are sensitive to the situations that they're getting into.
Yes, and it didn't make sense to grow that way. Like even like on a financial level, it just for what we would have had to get to, like we could maybe get 1 unit instead of 20 and do the same, so it didn't really like make sense to me.
The break even was too high for that model.
Yeah, I'd rather build it and break it up to have like corporate partners. That's kind of how I shifted focus. So
yeah. You sound like you're a guy who cares a lot about his business, but cares about the people you're servicing as well. So you don't want to lose that too much.
yeah, exactly. And
That's
the people that work.
I love it. That's awesome. So 6 months you said before you were fully self-sufficient, which isn't too bad. I mean, that's a pretty short timeline. That's pretty good. Obviously, you're a hardworking guy.
I mean, I was a kid living, home at 22, so I was still getting into the first place.
And you said you just got through another challenging year, another hurdle. But even you said with the housing market, I guess that's the current hurdle that you're working against. It's a little bit slow.
Yes, I mean we're good, but the current hurdles prior were understanding management, not being all over everything, and taking a step back with systems and things like that. So
putting the systems in place, that's what I've heard. There's always that you're going to hit a ceiling where you really need systems and standard operating procedures in order to really get to the next level, to make it so that your business can grow past just you looking after, where you got all these systems in place. So now other people can just follow the systems and they can, it's more automated.
Exactly.
How hard was it to get those systems in place? Was it easy for you? Did you?
No, it was a long journey, but every time something's like not perfect, we just keep doing it till we could figure it out. Like I've had 6 months, 9 months invested into labor hours and software paying for it, and just throw it out at the drop of a dime because it's not going to work.
Not work.
So
I mean, you're best to cut your losses.
Exactly.
And know something's not working for sure.
You can't follow it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. As frustrating as that is, and as much as you don't want to see the money disappear, it's just going to cause you headaches down the road.
Yep.
Yeah. It's business. It's always changing. You can't just do the same thing and expect the same results, because especially in your business, you're following the trends. There's storms here, storms there. That's kind of where you got to go. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to move.
Yep. And I mean, everybody moving to Florida. Now I'm seeing people move to New York. You know what I mean?
Right. I'll bet.
Yeah.
Florida's kind of a scary place right now, for sure.
Exactly.
So you start off with one truck, right? How many trucks do you have now, would you say? Must be a pretty big fleet.
15 to 18.
15, 18. That's fantastic. Now you said you want to grow. That's kind of your big thing. What's the next big thing that you foresee for relocators?
Actually, on a personal relocators level, I was writing a book to be a self-published book to give to my estimators, to give them a competitive edge, like help people during moving.
Okay.
And because of a random lunch I had with a close business networking friend, it wound up getting picked up for a 5-book series, and the first one's about to come out now. It's been a year and a half, and I'm hoping it does really well. I think it will. It's kind of like the complete guide to moving. It's going to be called Nobody Move, and there's going to be a series of 4 or 5 that follow different parts of that book, elder moves. And
interesting. So is it all the things that you need to consider when you're moving, that sort of thing?
Yes, but it's not broken down into an exact how-to. It's pretty cool. There'll probably be a horror stories book in the future. It's about 70,000 words. That's 20 to 22 chapters. Each chapter is broken down into horror story, the advice, the real world hacks, the conclusion, the bonus tip, and then the expert, where we're pulling other experts. We got some celebrity experts, and each one's broken down like that. So you could kind of read it from front to back, but you could also just pull out the hacks to local for international military.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's pretty cool how we structured it. And I'm really excited for that.
I always love a good story, and I find that's when I learn best, when I'm reading about real case studies, real life stories. That's great.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I understand the stress of moving. We moved into the current house that we're in about 6 years ago, and my wife was very clear to tell me we are not moving again. They will take out my body out of this when we're okay. So we're comfortable now, because I'm settled because we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. I'm the same. Like, I moved into my last house. I'm like, just put it in the attic. You guys will clean it out when I die. Just
That's
leave.
right.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So when you say the stress of moving, I understand having a book certainly might be helpful, some kind of guide or manual just so people know what to avoid. Do's and don'ts, I assume, is the best thing for sure.
Absolutely.
Especially you've probably seen it all, right?
Yes. It is, yes.
Do you have any good horror stories that you can tell us?
I've seen it where we sent one of the first tractors I ever sent to California. It was like maybe 2010, and it was an employee's stepfather we hired, and we rented a tractor, and it was this like really nice family in the Hamptons of Long Island that we were moving to California. We had moved them before, and we sent them out there, and you would hear our stories about cross country moving and truck drivers, and everyone has the stigma of truck drivers, but it was the kid's stepfather, and we felt really comfortable until about Reno. And once he got to Reno, we didn't hear from him for 3 days. And when we called the kid, and I was a mess for like 2.5 days, and we called the laborer we hired on the California side from the moving company. When he showed up, we were like, is he okay? Is the stuff okay? And he's like, yeah, it's just him and his wife. Like, he didn't have a wife. It was a girl. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So what, he stopped for a 3-day bender in Reno? Wow.
I went with him, yeah, to the move in California.
Okay. Okay. Yep. I mean, sure.
Stories like that. So.
You gotta love it. Now you gotta shake your head and move on, right? But at the time, I'm sure you're a little panicked.
There's one that I'll tell you too, with the divorces. We had one where the guy had every single like error you could see in his house as he made money. He was a big business owner, and his parents' house, and you could see the 90s era, the 80s era, the 70s era. Anyway, it went on a bunch of estimates. We go to do the job, and we show up, and that day his wife had won his parents' house in a divorce, but he won the contents, and he made us stay there for like 3 weeks, taking out the floorboards, the cabinets, the rugs, like the actual rugs. Insanity.
Everything.
He's like, if she's going to get a house and I'm getting the contents, there's going to be nothing in it. And he just kept us there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was really early on too.
I mean, I hope you guys are charging by the hour, but
yeah, that's how it works. That's the kind of stuff. That's what they say with the stress of moving.
Yeah, no, in divorce, you could throw a divorce in there as well, which is pretty stressful.
Or of a parent. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So you're right. So people move by choice because they're like, oh well, we're gonna move somewhere else for whatever. You got lots of time to plan, figure it out. That's one thing, and I did that. That's why I'm here now, in the house that we're in. The stress of the move was about it. We didn't have another life event on top of that we were trying to manage. I can only imagine how much stress people go through when they are forced into a situation unexpectedly.
I talk about it. Everybody kind of moves for like 4 main reasons. One, you're caretaker because, you're a kid and it's your caretaker. Right. 2, because of a positive, like new career, marriage, first apartment, the positives. Okay. 3rd, the non-achievements, like not negative because it depends how you look at it per each person, but the divorce or the changing careers, losing job, the downsizing. Okay. And then full circle life, your children are now your caretaker, putting you into somewhere or bringing you close to them. With moving, it stresses everything from the inception of the idea that you have to move until way after the move where you're finally settled, personal, gym, all that stuff. That's the stress. So that's what I talk about.
I've always lived in the same city. So, I mean, I've traveled, but I've never lived in a different city. So I don't know we'll say stress of having to find a new doctor, a new dentist, a new, like you said, the hairdresser, knowing where all the stores are, knowing where all the conveniences are, the services, all that stuff you need to set up, say, in a new city, in a new town. You just gave the example of the people moving from the Hamptons to California. You're moving across the country, right? It's all different. It's completely different. You're in a different state, different rules, different laws. Really things like changing over your driver's license, right? You got to register in that different state and based on their rules and everything they've got going on. And then you're changing your address. I mean, look, I've changed my address plenty of times, but all that stuff, lots of fun. Yeah. So right now we're just explaining why it's stressful and we get it.
Exactly.
People have to do it, but at least you wrote a book to help ease the burden a little bit. And that's great. It's a good business to be in. People are always going to be moving for whatever reason. And I think your model makes sense where you're helping with the estate sales, online auctions, right? That time in people's lives, you're helping with when there's a disaster and the restoration needs to be done, you're helping to that end as well. I think you've got a model that kind of works in a lot of different economies. Doesn't really matter what's going on in the world. You guys can accommodate, which is great. I mean, you're not just a one-trick pony. You guys can do it all. You really call up Robert. Robert will send people out to fix us up, no matter what stage of life we're in or what's going on.
And it works good too, because I'm a firm believer that competition is your best referral source. And I work with a lot of my competition, every single one of the industries, in both ways too. You know what I mean? So I think it helps a lot because I'm not just a head-to-head competitor with any of the companies. So I'm not looking for the same pool as them.
Oh, I see. You're saying your competitors will go after different clients? Is that kind of thing?
Not different clients, but we're not only going after the same client every time. You know what I mean? Whereas like all the movers will go after the client. I'm only about some of the times because my client might be the children from the estate sale. And then I get them. So yes, I'm their competitor there.
I see.
Or like the same thing with the cleanouts and stuff. So it's not like we're both only doing the same thing and we're at that competition. They're more comfortable with me.
That's good.
So am I, and I believe it.
You know how it is. The tide raises all boats, right?
Exactly.
And I'm a firm believer in there's plenty
That was a terrible joke right now, though, for me.
Oh, sorry. Terrible time.
Yeah.
Apologize for sharing.
And someone corrected me. You're really going to be, I said, like, weather the storm. And they're like, you're really saying that right now?
We don't mean anything by it, of course, right? I definitely think that there's a lot of business out there for everyone. There's no need to kill ourselves over it. Sharing knowledge is huge. We can only help each other improve and get better. You're not necessarily giving away all the trade secrets and you're not giving away your clients and anything like that. But at the same time, like you said, working together, it really, really helps for sure. If you don't service, say, the Washington area and some good movers out there and you can always refer business there, that kind of thing. It's always good to know people you can refer to that if you can't do a certain job, or if you guys are too busy, it's nice to have, right?
Well, I'll text with other movers all the time. I'm like, software, this trick or that. One guy gave me the software and then I integrated it with these kids that do stuff on Excel sheets. And then a year later, I was like, yo, I got them to do this with that software.
It helps everyone. And everyone gets better. I love it.
Me too.
Robert, look, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and talk about your business. Certainly right now, during this situation, I think it's kind of important to talk about it so people understand what it is that you do and where you're coming from. And in terms of, you're a business, you're the face of the business, but it seems to be it's more than that. You guys care about the people that you're looking after. You care about your clients. And I think right now it's kind of important with Milton kind of taking a swipe at Florida to know who they can count on. People can call. I'll make sure that the information for your business is in the description for the episode. So they can get a hold of you for whatever their needs are, really. They can get a hold of Relocators and yourself. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. It sounds like you're a boots on the ground kind of guy in business.
Absolutely.
And it's what's needed these days. So anyway, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me. I really do appreciate it. And I'll keep an eye out for what you've got coming next in the future.
It was a pleasure meeting you, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Take care.